Hello all. Sorry, technical. Hello all. We will wait a few more minutes until the rest of the participants and attendees can join, and then we'll start today's webinar. We will start the webinar at 13:10, so we will wait 5 more minutes. Okay. Hi and welcome everyone. So first of all, let me welcome all of our panelists and startups that are participating in our Export Readiness Program, and of course the rest of the audience. Thank you for the presenters for accepting our invitation and joining us today. We would also like to thank the International Visegrad Fund, who made today's event possible by financing our program, and as well as the three other accelerators who we collaborate on this project with. So thank you, Civitta, DEX Innovation Centre, and Startup Hub Poland as well. So today's webinar topic is Introduction to the Hungarian Healthcare Ecosystem. We will start by welcome from Gulyás Gergő from Startup Campus, and then we will hear 4 talks on the broader private and governmental Hungarian healthcare ecosystem. There has been a change. Unfortunately, Vivien could not join us today, but instead we will hear from Ősze Vivien, who took his place. And we will start with the welcome, then move on to the presentations. Questions can be asked after each presentation. We will have short breaks as well. And today's event will be moderated by me and my colleague Olivia. So to start, Gergő, I will give the floor to you.
Thank you very much. And to apologize for the technical difficulties at the very beginning. You know, it's a Friday for us as well. So yeah, sorry for that. We had to wait for the presenters, you know, typical Zoom stuff in these turbulent times that's caused by COVID. And yeah, actually this is my honor to give you a few opening remarks. I promise I'm going to be sweet and short. Actually, we're planning to finish the whole webinar series before time, actually, but Sophie mentioned that there'll be a few breaks between the sessions. We really want to make it interactive, so if you have any comments, please just write them into the chat, and we will ask the questions. If you have anything to ask, we will help you with that. Just a few words about the program itself. I don't want to repeat myself, and probably you can see on the website as well, but this program is supported by the Visegrad Fund, so thank you very much. And it's organized by our partners as well. And basically, the aim here is to help Central and Eastern European companies to be more export ready, more export fit, if you like. So we really would like to encourage them to think outside their home country actually and start to conquer the world, starting with the region and then later on go further. So we structured the program the following way. So we have actually 8 participants in the Export Academy, which is like a personal one-on-one session-based accelerator program, where they can learn more about foreign market entry strategy, product market fit testing in an international environment, resource management, competition and benchmarking, fundraising, marketing, sales, and so on. And besides that, you know, we have this webinar series where actually we invite like subject matter experts or representatives of different organizations. Say, for instance, this is what is going to happen today. We invited a few people from Hungary. So if you ever considered Hungary a landing spot in your foreign expansion journey, then you know this is your big chance to ask the questions and get to know the people who can help you to do so. A few words about Startup Campus. So basically, Startup Campus is a decentralized global accelerator headquartered in Budapest. And we actually have a huge emphasis on globalization and international strategies. When we started, we used to be an educational program for university students. Basically, we went to the universities. You know, as a post-communist country, Hungary was not a hotbed when it came to entrepreneurship. So we really wanted to change that. So we went there and we actually started to educate the people about like entrepreneurship, how to create a startup, what a startup is really, what venture capital are doing, and so on, how to fundraise, how to validate your idea. And later on, you know, we developed this idea further and we started to invest and provide incubation services. And from 2018, we have startups also not just to conquer their home market, but also in their foreign expansion journey. So we opened one unit in Berlin and also one in London. I'm always saying the London unit, by the way. And basically there, the plan is to help not just Hungarian, but any companies who are considering Europe or the particular country as a landing spot, and educate them about the markets, provide them useful connections, put them in touch with the most relevant organizations, and basically help them to build their local presence in their target market. So why we do it? We realized over the years that the whole foreign market process is a little bit impulse driven, and basically if a startup travels maybe to China, and then when they come back, they the trip was exciting itself, they might tell to their team members, okay, we need to go to China. However, maybe a few months later they go to Finland or Poland or anywhere else, and if the trip is exciting again, they might think that, oh well, Finland was great, we need to go there because we had a promising handshake with an investor. And as I mentioned, this makes the whole strategy and the whole process a little bit impulse driven. So we really want to change that by educating the startups, the founders about the process. It's a risky business. It's a it takes time. It can be really, really long to succeed in a given market. The market selection has a certain strategy and certain steps but you need to follow. So from the very beginning to the very end, it requires like a high level of focus, concentration, and knowledge. And this is what we are aiming to do here, but I don't really want to waste any more time. But I would like to introduce my dear colleague at Startup Campus Hungary, Tamás Tossenberger, who will introduce the Hungarian ecosystem. Thank you very much for being with us today. And if you have any questions or anything, just please write it in the chat, and Sophie or me will be here to help you out. Thank you.
Thank you, Gergő, and thank you, Sophie. Welcome, everyone. I also took slides, so I will share my screen. I don't know if it's visible.
No, we cannot see it yet.
Okay.
Okay, it's working, Tamás.
Okay. Just a sec. Okay, thank you very much. Welcome again. My name is Tamás Tossenberger. I'm head of innovation programs at Startup Campus, and I'm very happy to be here and have the pleasure to give some insights about Hungary and its startup ecosystem. I'm always very happy to see regional programs coming through. I myself also used to organize programs that help V4 startups succeed. So I would like to congratulate all the present participants, and I hope that you will benefit a lot from this opportunity. What I will talk about, just to give you an overview. So I will talk about general data and facts of Hungary. I will talk about the advantages of entering the Hungarian market if you are aiming to enter it, about how tax and business incentives look like, a little bit about the talent pool and the players of the Hungarian ecosystem. Also a little bit about the quality and standard of life and standard of living, and just shortly about what we do on a daily basis at Startup Campus. Gergő already mentioned the London side of it. but I'm based in Budapest, and there are differences in what we do. So let me share some data that are pretty similar actually in all of the V4 countries. Starting with the GDP, V4 countries are ranging in world rankings from 30 to 60 in GDP total. However, the growth rate is relatively high recently, obviously not counting the COVID era. So since 2012, the rate has not fallen below 2% in Hungary, and the average was 5% in the recent years. With 10 million people, we are a smaller country, very similar in size to Czech Republic, a little bit bigger in its population compared to Slovakia, and obviously Poland is the biggest market. If counted as a single nation state, the Visegrad region is the 5th largest economy in Europe. I think it's a good number to keep in mind. So the population of the countries is about 64 million people. So it's worth it to think of it as one single market because of the potential customers that you can reach with your product or service. A little bit about why we are connected. So the Visegrad 4 initiative is more than 30 years old, and these 4 countries have always been a part of a single civilization, sharing cultural, intellectual values and common roots. It's a region where startups can thrive because of these many similarities. It's easier to adapt in these 4 markets. Also in terms of human capital and venture financing, there are many similarities. Advantages of setting a business in Hungary, just very shortly. So setting up a business is quite simple. It works usually within a week. Also, the running costs are low, and the manufacturing is cheap from one hand, and has a great reputation as well. So this is about a big picture. If we consider, if we take a look at the location, also we have very similar advantages in the heart of Europe. We are all enjoying the EU membership with 446 million people market, and also we are all members of Schengen, so we have a lot of common groups where we belong to. I would like to talk a little bit about the quality of life in Hungary. It will be also no surprise for you. I think it's pretty similar with small slight differences in terms of high living standards, the relatively good infrastructure. We are all considered safe countries, and we also share vibrant cultural scenes. When it comes to the standard of living and level of innovation, all of the V4 countries rank also similarly. We are near the 30s in the innovation global ranking, 30s or in 40s. I think it's also a good number, and it also shows that we are talking about very similar markets. Also, the rental living costs are very similar and below the EU average. I think it's also worth to mention, since you are running businesses online and probably working remotely, that the internet speed in Hungary is quite good. So if you happen to relocate here or start business here, the internet is not an issue. Okay. A little bit about the tax and business incentives and how to set up a business in Hungary. As an intro to the startup scene, we are a very young startup scene. We have a very young startup scene in Hungary. We experienced a boom in the last 10 years. Actually, 80% of the currently active startups were funded recently in the past 10 years, and the new startups are expected to grow as innovation increases, and more capital is available on the market from the venture capitals and also from grant providers. Besides Budapest, Győr, Szeged, and Debrecen are considered as thriving startup communities. We also have locations. Startup Campus has offices in Győr, for example, and Debrecen as well. So we have connections not only globally but on a country level as well. So how to set up a business if you decide to come here? If you come here, you can count on the lowest corporation tax in the EU with 9%, which is a good news. I already mentioned earlier that it's very easy to register a company. It goes down in 1 week. Other practical information is that it's very safe and simple to open a bank account. You only need a valid passport, and that's it. Also, the Hungarian residence permit is quite easy to reach with a business ownership. And bad news for Hungary, but good news for others, that we have the lowest average salary within the EU. So if you decide to employ someone in Hungary, it is relatively cheap or cheaper than in most of the countries in Europe. And to set up a company in Hungary, you will only need to employ a Hungarian attorney. It's good to keep in mind. because the official documents are written in Hungarian. It's also a practical info to know. Okay, I would like to talk a little bit about the talent pool. I think it's the human capital is probably the biggest asset that all the V4 countries have. As for Hungary, we are ranking in business agility at the 50s, and similar ranking in tech skills and competitive skills and know-how. These are the IMD World Competitiveness Center's information. So if you are looking for professionals, you can get access to relatively skilled and cheap workforce. Also, we have relatively good English proficiency. We are the 15th out of 100 countries globally. It's also a recent information, and 88% of adults have completed upper secondary education. It's also a good number. It's also worth to mention that we have a lot of initiatives that support and attract international students. So every 6 universities student is international student. So it's also a really good target if you're looking for talents. Yep. I would like to talk about some highlights of the Hungarian startup ecosystem. Just to give a picture, I mentioned numbers earlier. We are also in the top 50 in the entrepreneurship global ranking, and it also shows that we have a growing number of starting entrepreneurships. And compared to, for example, to the Baltics, the V4 countries have more challenges, though, in both starting and doing business. While the cost of starting a business and the minimal paid in capital in all V4 countries is very affordable, so it's also an advantage of not only the Hungarian obviously, but the entire regions. We have a lot of, in Hungary, we have a lot of incubators and accelerators. There are different sources of numbers, but we found that we have more than 16 incubators, and the reason is that we have more incubators than other regional countries, that we have funded and adopted the Hungarian Innovation Act in 2005, so relatively early. And thanks to that, we opened a lot of hubs and incubators and accelerators since that. So innovation and the startup culture is considered as a highlight also in the state level. You probably know, but for the record, most of the incubators support their startups with a desk at co-working spaces, mentoring, financial aid, etc. So also to how to start a business. So it's a quite helpful community in Hungary, and also deeply connected to the V4, to the regional hubs. There are some numbers about the fundings and investors and active startups. It's also just for you to compare to your country. I would not read it out, but you can see the numbers. Maybe you heard of some of these top Hungarian unicorns, such as Logmin, Prezi, Ustream, Formlabs, or Balabit. These are considered the biggest innovative companies in Hungary. And as for the top industries, not because of you are working in the field of healthcare and life sciences, but this is actually the strongest field in Hungary, and obviously that's also a reason why we started this program as well. So we have quite good infrastructure in the healthcare system, and we have a lot of innovative minds and Nobel Prize winners that come from Hungary. So there is a heritage in this field that we try to develop every day. Beside the healthcare and life sciences, also education technology, agri-tech is also a strong industry, and fintech is also coming up. So these are the main sectors when it comes to startup industries. And I'm showing you some key ecosystem facilitators. Obviously, I will not go into details here, but if needed, I'm very happy to share all the info and the presentation afterwards. So you can check all these companies, investors, incubators, co-working offices. I think it's a useful page for the future. So to sum it all up, I think it is a good way to think of the V4 region as one big market, because by this angle, we strengthen each other's markets, and we are very similar in socioeconomical aspects. We are very close to each other geographically, obviously, but also in terms of our cultures, the size and the maturity of our startup and innovation scene is also very similar. Finally, I would like to talk a little bit about Startup Campus, trying to focus on things that Gergő did not mention. So we are an international innovation agency. We also mentor, but also invest in startups. We are running programs from already high school level, but we are active in the university scene. We are running university startup programs, and Gergo and other colleagues of mine are running soft landing programs globally. So we are actually covering the entire life cycle of innovative minds. You can see some numbers about the company. So, as previously mentioned, we have offices in London, Berlin, Budapest, Győr, and Debrecen. 5 offices. We have already reached out to more than 8,000 people during our events, one-on-one mentorings, startup competitions, workshops, etc. We have already reached out to more than 500 startups, reached out and consulted with more than 500 startups, and a good majority of them. I don't have exact number, but a great majority of them came from the health sector. Also, the number of events that we organized is quite high, over 100. So as you can see, we have quite well established in the ecosystem. What we can give is really the connection and the local knowledge of the ecosystem. And I'm very positive that by this program, if you try to think of the V4 region as really one big market, because of the reasons that I mentioned previously, I think that you could be big winners of this great program. And feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm very happy to give connections or give some advice about your product or service. Yeah, so thank you very much for your attention. I hope that you picked up some useful knowledge from my presentation, and I'm pretty sure that there is a big way ahead of you, and you will learn a lot during the program and benefit from my colleagues' work as well. So thank you very much, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Tamás. I think we got to learn lots of interesting and new facts about the whole ecosystem. Does anyone have questions from the audience? You can either unmute yourself and ask, or write it into the chat, and then I'll be able to read it out. If not, until then, I have a question, Tamás. What would you say, what are the difficulties of the Hungarian market, or the intricacies?
The difficulties of the Hungarian market, and sorry, I couldn't catch the second part.
No, that's a question.
Oh, okay. Actually, it's a good question. There are obviously many difficulties. I think probably the biggest challenge is that we are small. That's why we are aiming to form more and more coalitions and try to initiate programs together with other markets and other countries. So I think the biggest problem is probably that we are a small market.
Great, thank you. You've reflected on that in your presentation as well. So okay, that we pointed it out. So thank you very much for joining us today, Tamás. It was great to hear from you. And if you wish, you can stay longer and listen to the other presentations as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we'll move on to our second presentation of the day. We will listen to Gabor, the Deputy CEO of MFB Invest, and Laszló Hradszki, Member of Board of Directors and CEO Advisor at High Ventures. Both will talk about the Hungarian investment landscape. As I can see, Gabor is not yet in the meeting. So Laszló, do you mind to start? Would it be all right with you?
Yes, it's absolutely fine. I have actually a few slides to share.
Okay, I will make you. Can you share it? Is it possible for you to share it?
Let me try. Okay. It's disabled.
I will. Tamás, are you still in the meeting? Tamás?
Yeah, yes.
Could you pass, could you make me host again? Because you have the...
I will try.
Thank you.
I'm not sure how to do this.
Click on the points in my profile and you can make me host there.
I think I did it.
Yes, thank you. Okay, Laszló, could you try again, please? I believe now you can share your screen as a co-host.
Yeah. Can you see it now?
Yes, great, thank you.
Okay, excellent. Good. Okay, so talking about the Hungarian venture capital investment landscape, this is the period between 2010 and 2020. I have to I have to tell you that this is venture capital and private equity together. The Invest Europe statistics put these two categories together. So there are some larger private equity investments included here, but actually not too many. But you will see why in a later slide. But in any case, if you look at this basically this decade, you can see that there are some fluctuation, but overall there's an increasing tendency, and from this 65 million euros in 2010, last year it was 226, but there was actually a year when it was really high, 351 million euros of investments. So overall, there has been a considerable increase if you look at the whole decade. Now, it's even more interesting when we look at the number of investments per year. Here, the growth is even more impressive. coming from 17 investments in 2010. And here you can actually see a very nice and steady growth in terms of number of investments in well, mainly startups, reaching more than 200 investments last year in 2020. Now, I would like to show you a little chart which puts Hungary on the European map. This is a very widely used ratio in this industry, in the venture capital and private equity industry, which compares the volume of venture capital and private equity investments. Now, again, this is together, venture capital and private equity. Compares annual investment volume to the GDP of the particular country. You can see that Hungary is here 0.16% of the GDP, where overall, if Hungary is pretty good in terms of the Central European average, we are higher than the Central European average, even higher than Czech Republic. But you can see that the absolute leader in Europe is Estonia in this ratio. So the venture capital and private equity investment volume as a percentage of GDP, Estonia is way higher than the Central European countries. I have to say that there is, for the small countries, sometimes one or two large investments creates huge differences and huge fluctuation. And I believe this is also the case in terms of Estonia, where there were a number of really large 150 million euro investments into startups. Nevertheless, I have to say that that Estonia is probably the most developed startup market in Europe. They have gone through an incredible development over the years. But coming back to Hungary, we are doing pretty well, above the Central Eastern European average, but actually way below the overall European average, which is this dark blue column here, and Hungary is this column here. Now, again, talking about Central and Eastern Europe and comparing these countries, comparing these markets in terms of the investment volumes. This chart shows you between 2017 and 2020 the investment values, the investment volumes of these countries, and here you can see that that Poland is the absolute leader by far. It has the euro volumes of Poland, which is obviously by far the largest country. This is also reflected in the investment volumes. As I said again earlier, Estonia, small country, is kind of number 2, number 3. Czech Republic is doing very well in investment volumes, and Hungary is doing okay. You know, different years are different, but kind of Hungary, Czech Republic, Romania, kind of similar similar level, obviously smaller than Poland. Again, these are the euro volumes in million euros each year. Now, let's look at the next chart, which gives you a very interesting picture. This is the number of investments, the number of companies that received venture capital or private equity investments in these countries. Again, let's look at the previous chart. Huge difference, right? What does this tell us? This tells us that although Poland is a 3 times biggest country and the investment volumes are probably 3 times bigger than in Hungary, the number of investments in Hungary are much bigger than in Poland, and by far Hungary is the #1 in this category in Central and Eastern Europe. Why is that? How is that possible? This is obviously possible because of the large number of early stage venture capital investments in this country. The Hungarian government allocated huge amounts of money for startup investments over this whole decade, basically between 2010 and 2020. And many funds have been established, state-owned funds and other funds, which I call kind of hybrid funds, because they are investing EU money, and these players are investing in large number of startups, early stage startups, even pre-seed startups, large. Just talking about our company, High Ventures, we make almost 100 investment each year. We launched our business in 2017, and each year we invest in almost 100 Hungarian startups. So if we compare these countries, and if we talk about Hungary, this is kind of a special characteristic of the Hungarian market, that there is a relatively large amount of money focusing on early stage, mainly pre-seed and seed startups, and making large number of investment each year. And I think this was pretty much what I wanted to say.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Laszló. I think we were able to hear lots of interesting data and see how Hungary compares to the whole region and the other ecosystems in the neighboring countries. I think it would be also interesting if you could talk a bit about High Ventures and your investment theory at your company, because we have teams from other countries outside of Hungary as well. So it might be interesting to hear a bit more about High Ventures.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. We are a state-owned venture capital and private equity company in Hungary. We invest into Hungarian companies only. We invest EU money and Hungarian government money. Our mandate is to give a boost to the Hungarian ecosystem. We invest into pre-seed companies, kind of earlier seed companies, and later seed companies. Sometimes we also participate in Series A investments. As I said earlier, we started our activity in 2017. We have invested in around 350 startups so far. We are sector agnostic, so we invest in innovative companies coming from all different sectors. Besides the venture capital business, we also have a it's kind of a private equity. It's a special private equity business where we invest into small and medium-sized Hungarian, mainly family-owned businesses, and our main focus is to kind of help the generation shift of these companies. Very often the original founders get old, want to retire. Their children will not take over the business, and this creates a huge problem. And many of these companies actually die because there's no new generation taking over the business. And our financing program helps to fund the buyout and takeover of these family businesses by management teams. Sometimes these are management buyouts, but most of the case these are management buy-ins, or sometimes it's not management teams but other companies taking over these businesses, which is, you know, just kind of part of an industry consolidation. So these are the two business lines that we follow. Again, startup business, venture capital, and small and medium-sized business. We have more than 400 million euros under management in our funds. We have 7 funds altogether managed by our company. So this is pretty much it, and I can see that Gabor has arrived in the meantime.
Yeah, thank you again, Laszló. Really interesting facts. Really great to hear about High Ventures. And thank you so much for coming in today.
Sure.
So we really do appreciate your attendance.
Sure.
Hi, Gabor. Thank you very much for attending, for joining today's event. Laszló just started with the presentation on the Hungarian investment landscape through High Ventures eyes. And now we would be interested in your perspective from MFA Invest. So I will give the floor to you.
Hi, everyone. First of all, excuse me for being a little late. I tested Zoom in the morning and it collapsed for the afternoon. So I needed IT support to start again. So thank you very much for having me here. I prepared some PowerPoints. So if I can share, that would be great.
Made you co-host. It should be possible for you now to share your screen.
Okay. Yeah.
Great. It's working.
Yes, perfect. So maybe there will be some overlapping with Laszló's numbers and facts, but I hope we can go through the numbers. So basically, as you can, the numbers that you can see is the number of the fund management companies in terms of location. So there are 45 fund management companies in Hungary. Out of these 45, 43 is in Budapest. So as you can see, Hungary is pretty much focused on, or the fund management companies are located in Budapest. Most of these companies are operating in the whole country. So being based in Budapest doesn't mean that they only focus on targets in Budapest. Moreover, some part of the fund management companies have funds from EU sources, and most of these funds are not allowed to be invested in Budapest. So because the central Hungarian region is excluded of the EU funds. Okay, so on the next slide, you can see that in the last 13 years, how the number of the funds and the number of the investments grew. The blue line is the size of the funds, the total size of the funds in billion forint, and the orange line is the number of or the size of the investments over the last 13 years. As you can see that the last 5 years, last, let's say 4 years, that was a huge boom. That is the High Ventures has a huge role in it, because High Ventures was funded in 2016, as far as I can recall. And they started operating in 17, and then you can see that the numbers started to grow exponentially as High Ventures and its funds entered the market. Another perspective or point of view in terms of fund management companies is the ownership background of the fund management companies. There are governmental entities such as High Ventures and Széchenyi Tőkealapkezelő. It's not governmental, but at the end of the line, there is the Hungarian state as the ultimate owner. MFB Invest is also in this group, but in terms of startup financing, I would talk about Széchenyi and High Ventures. Here at MFB Invest, we are more focused on more mature companies, such as in classical industries like machine, equipment manufacturing. We also invest in green stuff like solar parks and energy. But I think in terms of startup financing, STA and High Ventures are the ones that should be mentioned. Then there are fund managers owned by commercial banks. These companies, Solus portfolio, they invest in early stage startups. In Solus's portfolio, there are some medtech or healthcare investments. These companies usually manage EU funds or partially EU funds, and information technology and R&D is one of their focus. So most of the medtech investments can fit in these categories. And there is a special type of fund managers, the so-called city fund managers or local fund managers. There are 7 of them at the moment, and these fund management companies' investments are restricted only in the area of their cities or the neighborhood as well, but they do local investment. They support the local companies, local SMEs most of the time. And then I think that's my last page. It's about the industries where the Hungarian funds invest. There are, as you can see, healthcare is also there. There is a significant amount in healthcare, but general and the others, so the 2 biggest categories or largest categories are not specified. So general means there are fund management companies where they don't have a specific target in terms of investment policy. So in the general category, there are also some medtech, fintech, and other type of startup investments. I think this is what I can say in general, but I'm open to any questions.
Thank you, Gabor, for your presentations. Unfortunately, we did not have as many attendees, but this video is recorded. This webinar is recorded for later purposes, and we'll share it with our social media channels to our broader audiences as well. If anyone has questions from the audience, please feel free to ask either Laszló or Gabor. You can either unmute yourself or write it into the chat. And as long as we're waiting, I would have a question to you, Gabor. So in general, the more east we look at the whole ecosystems, the bigger the governmental influence into the whole venture capital and the whole startup ecosystem. And what do you think that looking into the future, there will be more private investors in Hungary? What do you see? What are the trends? And my other question would be, how do you see the internationalization of the Hungarian startup ecosystem? Where are we moving? What are the trends? What are the prospects?
Okay. I think the first question, according to your first question, I think, as you can see the numbers, the governmental influence in the Hungarian investment or startup ecosystem it's pretty significant. As most of the fund managers manage some grants or EU funds, or the European Investment Fund has also some, as a fund of fund, has investments here at I think there are 2 or 3 fund management companies managing AEF funds. And there is a very small number of fund managers who manage their private money, let's say. So, but I'm pretty sure that as these grants and EU funds flow into the system, slowly it will also involve some private money, and I think it will get balanced in some time. I think it will need time, so it's not going to happen in the next 2 to 5 years, but maybe later. I think it should, and EU grants will decrease in the future, so we will have to manage it within ourselves. And in terms of internalization of the Hungarian system, I think there are 2 sides of it. Raising fund for fund management, raising fund from EU or from the United States, that's one aspect. And the other one is that Hungarian startups growing and getting funds from outside of Hungary, and I think that's going to be the most important thing in the next couple of years. Startups starting with seed and growth capital from high ventures or other investment management companies is a nice thing, but soon they will have to step outside, and not just from business development point of view, but also a fundraising point of view. So I'm still waiting for a first big deal where we will see, let's say, United States-based fund invests in some very nice Hungarian startup. But that would be nice, I think. And there's also most of the funds that have EU grants and funds, they are only allowed to invest in Hungarian entities, Hungarian legal entities. So if someone from, let's say, Czech Republic or Slovakia wants a Hungarian investment, they will have to have a Hungarian company or legal entity, which is not impossible, but would raise some legal and other issues.
Great, thank you for your opinion. And I'd like to follow up with Laszló. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What are your opinions on the topic of private investors in Hungary and the future trends?
Well, I think that there are some really successful Hungarian startups, and we can see that they have already been able to raise money from investors from Germany or Scandinavia, typically Series A or Series B rounds. sometimes tens of millions of euros. But on the lower end, on the mainly seed and the smaller rounds and the earlier stage startups, I don't see so far too much investments coming from international investors. This may change in the future, may not. We will need to have a lot more successful startups to prove that this is an exciting market for the international investors. It's a learning curve. We are creating a lot of startups, and we will see if and how many successful ones will come out of this pool. It's these are still for looking at our program. We only launched 4 years ago. It's a relatively short period yet to show success. It's a long journey. Building a successful startups take a long time. But otherwise, the Hungarian market is very difficult for private money and for foreign investors, because it's completely dominated by the state-owned and the hybrid funds, and the real traditional private fund managers are kind of they believe that this is a very crowded market. It's quite difficult to operate in such a crowded market. If you just remember my chart, which shows that we make 3 times more investments than Poland, which is 3 times larger than Hungary.
Great to hear your views as well. Thank you so much for answering my question. I think it was really interesting to hear both of your sides and your opinions, and hopefully the situation will change and we will move towards what you mentioned as well. So we would like to propose a short break. Thank you for all the speakers who have been with us. Thank you for joining and accepting our invitations. Feel free to stay. We will have 2 more talks after a break. And thank you again. So we will meet back here at past. So that would mean a 10-minute break. And we're looking forward to seeing you soon again. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Innovation office does. In a nutshell, it seeks to support the development of the scientific and innovation ecosystem of Hungary in many ways. It is responsible for the strategic planning of research development and innovation costs financed from EU funds. This task includes the managing of the application procedure and also the program evaluation. And it also needs to be highlighted that the organization establishes innovation services and collaboration platforms. with the aim of providing a broad range of services for the actors of the ecosystem. The National Research, Development and Innovation Office established its innovation agency. This agency assists many actors from high school students to companies entering into the foreign market. For example, with talent support programs, trainings, business consulting, product validation, market entry support, and active community building. We are very proud one of the programs of the National Research, Development and Innovation Office called the Hungarian Startup University Program. It is operated by the Innovation Agency, and this program is the largest educational innovation of Hungary. Okay, let's look at the program in more detail. Hallshupe is the first program that supports the Hungarian startup ecosystem at higher educational level. The pilot year was launched last year in 2020, and it proved to be very successful. 21 universities joined us. 2,100 domestic university students participated. 150,000 project ideas were in the program. 95 project teams were formed, and the National Research, Development and Innovation Office allocated 300 million scholarships. On the basis of the results, we all have great hopes in this school term. It is expected to have more participating universities and more than triple the number of the students. The main aim of the program is to get chance for young people to understand the world of innovation and the way startups work. The e-learning content is available through the new self-developed e-learning platform, and the e-learning content is available through, I like to highlight that the program's uniqueness is that the 2-semester course can be completed through the web and mobile application. Some other characters are also made the program special. For example, it begins by students filling in a role-defining test. And based on the results, the program recommends founding roles to the students in which they are advised to complete the course. Well, as mentioned before, the Hungarian Startup University program consists of 2 semesters. In the first semester, the focus is on understanding the innovative mindset and the world of startups and innovation. The students need to complete 7 modules and create a one-pager about their project idea. 2 options are provided. Students can work on their own idea or present a solution for challenges launched by Hungarian large enterprises. As regards the second semester, the focus is on mastering practical knowledge and skills required to build an innovative business. Completion of modules is also required, but less than in the first semester, just 5. And additionally, project teams need to submit a progress report. At the end of the second semester, you can successful conclusion of their students. Students shall present their progress, successes, failures, or even their first working prototype in front of investors and other members of the startup community. Okay, mentoring and financial support. We are very committed to provide a high quality program. Therefore, we are building a mentoring network. Mentors give the young entrepreneurs practical guidance to help them to develop their skills and knowledge. It needs to be mentioned that not everyone is able to take part in mentor program. It is required to have a winning project idea after the conclusion of the first semester, or join a team with a winning project idea. The high-SHUPI teams consist of 5 people at most. The mentor program is 3 months long during the second semester, and the mentor and their team meet at least twice every month. The mentors are selected from experts of the startup ecosystem, experienced executives, university lecturers with holistic experience in entrepreneurship, and of course, curious startuppers. The Hungarian Startup University program can be very active, can be very attractive, since the National Research Development and Innovation Office provides financial support in the second semester, not only to the students, but also to universities. Every student working in project team shall receive a monthly scholarship of 150,000 forints. And thanks to this scholarship, students get help to prepare for entering the real market environment and focus on their dreams. Universities are also entitled to get 120,000 forints as a one-off payment after each scholarship student. Last but not least, regarding the Hungarian Startup University program, let's talk about the partnership offer. The program is professionally supported by partners offering a product, service, discount, price, or other contribution to students. Well, we are looking forward to work together with cooperating partners, professional partners, and also mentors, as mentioned. Cooperating partners support the program's success by logo placement, mutual communication, or sharing our programs in relevant places. The professional partners go beyond mutual communication because they wish to support the students with the concrete contributions, and the mentors provide professionals practical assistance to young entrepreneurs. Well, after sharing the key information regarding the Hungarian Startup University program, let me talk about other relevant programs. Now we are working on the establishment of an information hub called InnoJam that will be available for anyone who is open to innovation, regardless of the age. As part of this initiative, Startup Campus operated the InnoJam program, in which young people could apply with innovative ideas, presenting something new and unique in several fields. We made sure that there are many talented young people, but the focus is on the problem instead of searching solutions. Therefore, with the information hub, our target is to establish the innovation generation and mindset. And we believe that what important is that considering problem as a challenge that give us opportunity for development. Among the initiatives of the National Research Development and Innovation Office, Call for proposals for incubators is one of the most successful. It is coordinated with the policy support of the Ministry for Innovation and Technology, and the call is open to technology incubators having at least 3 years of experience in incubation activities. Last year, in 2020, 7 incubators were selected for funding, and each incubator received 300 million forints. That funds can be spent on the direct support of domestic startups in Budapest and in 4 rural cities, Debrecen, Miskolc, Szeged, and Veszprém. We were very delighted to see that funded startups come from different sectors, including the healthcare one. The National Research Development and Innovation Office has an initiative directly related to the healthcare called the COVID Idea Contest. The contest is aimed to collect innovative ideas that are able to reduce the effects of new challenges arising from the current difficult health and social situation. Creative ideas received up to nearly 120 million forints for implementation, and the framework was distributed among 29 projects and 5 ideas. In order to achieve vigorous success, National Research Development and Innovation Office provided training and mentoring network for the winning teams. Winning projects typically dealt with health and medicine, digital education, and other fields of engineering. And for the sake of curiosity, here are some funded projects below, like autonomous indoor disinfection robot, virus diagnostic development, and development of a distance learning and testing system for clinical studies. I think we can safely say that Hungary gives particular priority to facilitate innovation in healthcare. COVID Idea Contest announced by the National Research Development and Innovation Office was among the first to respond to the COVID situation. I think due to the COVID, EHAS company had to react quickly, and they were first to develop and validate their products and services. According to the information of National Research Development and Innovation Office, 80% of healthcare companies are winners of the COVID-19. That's the finish of my presentation. I hope I could give you an overall overview about the activities of the National Research Development and Innovation Office, including the ecosystem supporting initiatives and programs. And I also hope that I was able to convince you that Hungary is a great place to start a business. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Vivien, for your presentation and your enthusiasm. It was really great to listen to your presentation. Thank you for joining us today. If there are any questions in the audience, you can either unmute yourself or write it into the chat. Okay, if there are no questions.
I have a question actually to you, Vivien. So thank you very much for the very interesting presentation. And basically, I just wanted to ask you about the future of Hungary, like how do you see it, the innovation landscape in a few words, and if you could just share some extra points on that, and how much do you see is it going to become more international, especially like foreign companies coming in? Do you see there is a larger increase in foreign companies coming into Hungary, like startups, or so is it like a sexy destination, or we still have to do a lot of work? What would you say?
Okay, thank you, Olivia, for the question. Well, the Hungary is open for everyone, for also the for foreign startups and foreign companies. Regarding the National Research Development and Innovation Office, we can support foreign companies in case of having a headquarters in Hungary. So that's the key point. And I also think we need and we will have very supporting initiatives to support the ecosystem, and we have more talented young people to get more idea to support the ecosystem. So yeah, okay. Did you say something? Sorry, I can't hear you now.
I think there was just a technical difficulty. Please continue.
Okay, so I'm very positive regarding the future, and I hope it will be the place where foreign startups and foreign companies will start a business.
Thank you very much for your answer. And thank you for again for joining us today. If you want, you can stay. We have one more interesting talk for today. So with this, I would also like to welcome Dr. Laszló Németh from EGNOC Ltd. We'll talk about the Hungarian medical innovation landscape. So please, you have the floor. I have made you co-host, so if you want to share your screen, share presentation, Laszló, please feel free, and thank you for joining us and accepting our invitation.
Welcome to everybody in this late Friday afternoon. And I had to speak about the health industry in Hungary. As you can see on the slide, I am the director and head of the Health Industrial Center. This is a non-profit company which owned and established by the Ministry of Innovation and Technologies. And I think we all know that health industry has several specialties comparing to the other sectors. These are the global characteristics of this sector and social needs from the basis of the technological development and growth of the healthcare industry. There are two characteristics and expectations are here, the sectorial characteristics and the social expectation. This economical area based mainly on innovation and research, and there is a strong need between several disciplines, high value added production and services, and it's an ever-growing global market, as we all know, and decreasing technological innovation costs. The social expectation, there is a strong expectation to improve the quality of life by the human beings, and everybody would like to expect to increase the numbers of health years, what they are spending. Of course, everybody wants to have declining healthcare costs and high quality, personalized, quickly accessible healthcare services. The healthcare industry is one of the most innovative industries. In this slide, we are showing this is the third highest after the IT and service software in EU. Innovation is creating a brighter future to healthcare and health industry. I think there are several factors and points where the focus changed a lot. In this slide, we are showing, based on the AT Kearney analysis, what happened in the past and what will happen in the near future. It means the healthcare itself will be it was reactionary, and it will be predictive and preventive. It was provider-centric, and now the patient will be the center. It was discrete, and now it will be a continuous. There were several individual heroes, like the professors and the doctors who performed the operation or treated the patient. Nowadays, and the near future, it will be mainly a team-based. It was homogeneous, and now it will have competitive differentiation. It had individual expertise, and now we will have virtual teams and artificial intelligence. High-cost care settings, and now the aim is optimized care settings. Of course, these things need to happen because there is a larger population served, and this is avoidance, higher quality of care from longer period of time, individualized, optimized treatments, greater leverage of medical care providers, and so on and so on. What the individuals themselves would like to have, what they want from the technological advances. 76%, we are continuing with the AT Kearney analysis. The result says that 76% they said that technological advantages improve their health and their recovery. There are 3 points where they would like to have and they expect better results in the communication. 62% want to communicate about their health and illnesses through the IT tool, and 69% would like to have continuous follow-up of health and illness. And also accessibility is important. 64% would like to have online registry for appointments. 61% would like to have digital accessibility to choose the doctors. Involvement, 90% of the patients would like to be involved in their illnesses, how they are treated. And 60% would like to have their findings and reports available digitally. Of course, Hungarian government also discovered that there is a strong need to have changes in the health industry. That's why they published in 2020 this government decrees in August, and the result of this decree was a strong teamwork, which created a strategy, and this teamwork started to work in autumn 18, and the team had 8 different working groups and also involved about 100 other big name experts. The material, what created this strategy, based on examination of international practices, and we also interviewed industry actors, institutions, medical training universities, research centers, co-ministries, and so on and so on. The COVID itself pointed out that it's essential to secure the production of healthcare, the basic healthcare products within Hungary, ensuring products of adequate quality and quantity to control the epidemic. we all know what happened in the beginning of the epidemic crisis, but later everything went smooth. Why it is important? We have to reduce our import exposure, ensuring self-sufficiency, increasing export capacity at the regional and European level, enhancing the role of the state in the import and export and the manufacturing, guaranteeing the security of supply at the European and national level, examine the changes of state acquisition, strategic products, protection of businesses important for security of supply. As I mentioned, there were 8 different groups who were working on the strategy. The eight different groups are the columns, the base columns of the Hungarian economical strategy. One of the columns is the pharmaceutical industry. In the present status, we can say that the pharmaceutical industry has a 100-year tradition in Hungary. And of course, there are a lot of specialties in Hungary. There is a high concentration. We have 4 big factories which provide 95–80% of the market and export. GDP ratio is 1.6%. The sales revenue I am showing here. Employees is about almost 19,000 employees. The challenges of the pharmaceutical industry is the system of the drug financing and drug acceptance by the social security system. Of course, there is a increasing number of the lack of products, and the length of the lack situation is also extending. Of course, increasing the new drug development costs. Big challenge for the companies is the digitalization and the differentiation of the trainings and so on and so on. That's why the team established few main provisions, like development of an action plan to the supply of medicines in Hungary, reduction of parallel trade, pharmaceutical subsidies, renewal of pharmaceutical expenditures, innovative financing techniques. For V4 countries, of course, the extension of extending cooperation and finding different new cooperation possibilities. There is a need of extension of these programs, what we are showing here, supplier development program, which is already ready for the other part of the industries, IRINI plan, and the Industry 4.0 program. Of course, we have to examine the regulatory environment. We have to modernize the trainings here. The second leg of the industry is the medical device industry. The medical technology is one of the fastest growing areas of the industry and one of the strongest multiplier areas. In Hungary, this is almost the last domestically owned manufacturing sector. Surprisingly high number of the companies, but these are mainly small and medium-sized companies. We can say that this sector is less sensitive for economic downturns because we all know that the products of this industry need everybody, even if it is a good period or a bad period. Employees are more than 12,000 direct employees, but we can say there is another 30,000 employees who are working for the industry indirect way. The big challenge for everybody in Europe is the new regulation for MDR and IVDR regulations, which is already in force since May 21. And what are these challenges? There is an insignificant number of certification bodies, lack of training, The regulatory environment is outdated, limited supply of human resources. There are not enough training possibilities. Of course, there are several problems with the social security support system for medical devices. And also a major issue for this industry is the healthcare public procurement system. The main provisions should be helping for this small and medium-sized company to get the certification with the financial support, and also with establishing new certifying companies and creating a lot of trainings and so on. We also have to review, I mean the Hungarian government will have to review the public procurement practices to give bigger chances to these companies. Of course, modernization is the training is a key factor. Biotechnology is the third part, and the specificity of the medical biotechnology sector is that the innovation value chain is typically long, development is costly, and the risk of success is higher than in other sectors. In Hungary, the institutional background for molecular and cell biology research is significant. We have about 20-30 pharmaceutical biotechnological companies. Here I am showing the people and the revenue. The challenges are that the resources are not allow the creation of competitor institutional system. There is not a big support for them. There is a lack of preclinical focus and support for the drug development chain. The main provisions from the team to establish Hungarian health industry, biotechnology, science and innovation park, modernization and training, examining the regulatory environment related to the industry. The fourth leg of the health industry is the herbal industry, which is surprisingly big part of the health industry. As you can see, it's about 45-54 billion per year. This has two parts. This is the collection part, where the companies and the people individually collecting the wild herbals, and the other one where there are plants, and they are there is 25-30,000 hectares in which they can grow these plants. The big challenge is that lack of adequate and skilled laboratory, processing problem, reduction of collection areas, quality problems. There are no innovative and marketable products. Over-regulation is always problem in the post-communist country. The main provisions are examining the regulatory environment, resolving the increasingly strengthened territorial constraints and collection, introduction of collector registration and organized education, training. The fifth is the big challenging area, which is the e-health and the background industry of the e-health. There is a strong need nowadays for the digitalization. It is difficult to delimit and define the e-health background industry. There are several small and medium-sized companies, and it's very difficult to identify which is e-health and which is just general digital companies. The big challenge that data, we already have this AST, which is the cloud-based background of all of the health data, but at the moment it's not researchability. Of course, there is another unregulated illegal data flow, which is not exact and not punctual, and we don't know exactly from where to where it is going. Big challenge of course, the data management and the slow development of the health e-health background industry. We have to solve problems with the data access management, lack of information, new IT tools, a lot of R&D. The main provision in this area is to have access for the data for real scientific work. E-health creation of working group, preparation of an action plan, examining the regulatory environment related to industry. We need modernization of the trainings. Health tourism is very important in Hungary. As you know, we already have 224 tourist baths in 174 locations. And this is the main aim of the tourist, I mean the health tourism. These are spas, wellness tourism, and there is a smaller part with the medical tourism. We have to say the biggest one is the dental tourism at the west border of Hungary. The number of people arriving to Hungary for health purposes, it's about, we don't know exactly, between 60,000 and 200,000. The priority is in this order: Germany, Austria, Russia, United Kingdom. The major challenges are that the legal environment is outdated. Based on the old communist time, there are not so many changes in the legal environment. Services which are financed by the social security and on market basis are not separated in several tourist baths or different hospitals. Also, there is no binding system for criteria which is spa and wellness hotels. If somebody says I am a wellness hotel, it's accepted by everybody. Categorization of spas is also not regulated. Industry data, lack of single sales area in the medical tourism market. Main provisions, separation and qualification system of market-founded and publicity-founded services in spas of international importance, as well as revision of definitions related to natural healing factors in accordance with international standards and domestic needs. The 7th and 8th columns are put in one because these are the innovative areas like genomics, epigenetics, bionics. In this area, which is a quickly growing market, and also we need a lot of investment, a lot of R&D in this region. In Hungary, most of the currently generated genomic data is collected in inaccessibility, separate databases. We don't know exactly where we are. That's why the main provisions are simplification of the regulatory system, revisions of the rule system, RDI support for the small and medium-sized companies and large companies in the field of bionics as well. Of course, we also have to launch an information campaign to show to the patients and the doctors that we already have several good and new results. Based on these 8 columns of the health industry, government decided to establish this company, which I am heading. This is the Health Industry Innovation Centre. The industrial demand, why the ministry established the company to support the innovation in pharmaceutical, medical device manufacturing in all of the 8 columns. And there is a lack of the proper link between the creation and use of knowledge supporting professional industrial recovery would increase efficiency, support for the implementation of the sectoral strategies needed through the annual review. These were the demand from the industrial side. Our job, our aim to be, this is the list what we have to do in the near future. Support of spin-off and startup companies, design and joint industrial and university R&D project, support of intra-sectorial mobility, business-focused mentoring, conducting industrial surveys, monitoring and analyzing global trends, and showing this to the ministry, organization of conferencing, trainings, and identification of international good practices, and so on and so on. This job was started last August, and we already have several results in the showed goals. Of course, these are very nice ideas, but industry also needs some true support that they expected. And the Innovation and Technology Ministry and the Finance Ministry created two major health industrial support programs. The Innovation Technology Ministry created an EU-based money called GINOP. And this was the support for the development of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises for the production of healthcare products. This was the title of the program. In this table, I am showing that the application submitted was 125, and 62 companies received a certificate of support. 65 companies rejected. The total value of the application, the accepted application, was 23 billion Hungarian forint. The average value of the accepted projects were 373 million Hungarian forint. The Finance Ministry used a little bit different type of programs, but also for the health industrial support program they called, and they supported 46 companies, mainly major companies, as you can see in the applicant's value. The total value of the support was 64 billion Hungarian forints, and the average value what they provided to the companies was 1.4 billion. As I mentioned, these companies were mainly big companies, big Hungarian-owned company. As a result of these supports, the country has become self-sufficient in the following products, which is very important for the next wave of the COVID. These are the surgical mask FFP1, FFP2, FFP3, surgical gloves, protective glass, face shields, disposable coats, disinfection materials, and PCR tests. I just would like to show a few data about this Innovation and Technology Ministry. How did it look? How this was exactly? Here on this pie, I'm showing that 62 companies got the good results, I mean the support, and 63 they didn't get, they failed because of something. Here is the applicants, number of applicants, 125. And in this slide, I'm showing what was the main goal of the applicants. The blue shows some kind of protective product or protective technology against coronavirus. It was 31. It means exactly 50% of the applicants had this type. This is for the therapy. The green shows the therapy. The applicants would like to provide something for the therapy, like respirator or whatever. And the yellow, these are the yellow one was for the protective systems against the coronavirus. In this slide, I'm showing the regional distribution because this was an EU money. There was no chance for the central region and for the capital to support the companies in this region. But we are showing here that the South Great Plain was the biggest area where we had a chance to provide good support for the companies. These are the Hungarian major regions, and the South Great Plain has the big potential now to develop in this healthcare industry. Lessons and opportunities of the COVID-19 in the health industry, what we learned. Opportunities are shortening the production chain, which means what we would like to have, the local production. Yes, the state as the customer and as the organizer of the defense identifies those market participants who are able to prepare very quickly for the production of the products needed for the defense and provide the supply. Effect of the decision taken, short-term and long-term. Short-term can be certain products can be used to supply the general public, those working in healthcare, law enforcement, defense and state-owned enterprises. The continuous operation of domestic manufacturing enterprises and the preservation of jobs can be ensured. Competitive domestic companies with significant production capacity. These domestically produced products can be triggered by the Chinese and Far East imports continues adequate quality. In long term, production chains and capacities are formed already, which are available in new emergencies and are also able to produce for export. Products ordered by the state can be kept in stock for the next wave. This is all what I would like to say about the status of health industry in Hungary and the role of our company. And thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for sharing all of these informations, and it was very detailed, so thank you very much for that. If anyone has a question, please unmute yourself or write it into the chat. Until then, I would have a question. What do you think, looking into the future, is there more room for cooperation between corporates and startups, or how do you see the trends of startups involved in the healthcare scene?
Of course, our role and the government goal is to find the possibilities and chances where the startup companies can join into this whole system, and also our job also to discover where are the connection point between universities, where the main, let's say, where are the main R&D results. Then we can see that there is a link between, there is no link between the factories and the R&D result. They are creating some products, but it is not going to the production. Our job should be find the possibility and the potential companies where they can make a lot of number of products. Also, there is a big job for us to introduce several companies and several products to the Hungarian market, because we can see few big companies who are already made and sell very good products in abroad, but they are not known in Hungary. They didn't invest too much to the Hungarian sales.
Thank you so much. Anyone from the audience? I saw that someone was.
Yes, I had a question. Thank you so much for your presentation, Laszló. My question is regarding the Hungarian medical software industry. I'm not sure how much of an overview can you give us about that, but I would really appreciate if you could tell us a few words about the medical software industry in Hungary.
Yes, I showed in my slide, I don't know, I think the third or fourth column, the base column of the health industry, is the e-health. And as I showed in that, the Hungarian healthcare software companies, there is two big poles. There are few big companies. Of course, they are the main providers of the market. And what we can see, there are several small companies who provide small medical softwares, let's say, for GPs, for one-to-one hospitals, and which is at the moment is very difficult to get a full overview. But we already created a nice questionnaire, and we get back several results about that. And we are analyzing this one, and we would like to bring all of these companies under one umbrella, just to equalize the differences between the present and the near future possibilities of the e-health and also the medical softwares. Yeah.
Then thank you for your answer, and thank you for the question, David. If there's no more questions, then I would like to say thank you very much for accepting our invitation, Laszló, and your attendance today. And with your presentation, we came to the final talk of today. So thank you to everyone who attended. We hope that you were able to receive some beneficial information and get to learn more about the Hungarian healthcare ecosystem. This webinar was recorded, so we will upload it on our YouTube, and you will be able to look at it and find it on our social media. It will be posted next week. So thank you to everyone. And next week, we will have our next webinar on the introduction to the Polish ecosystem. Please, if you're interested, you can register look at our Startup Campus's social media, and we are looking forward to meeting you there. Thank you all, and bye.
Bye. Thank you.